Are you going to hold the line on that, or what are you going to tell the government if they said you got to close your churches? What would you say? Having a conversation with Bishop Strickland, first of all, about his tweets, and then about different moral teachings in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Bishop Strickland, I always say put your seatbelt on because I'm going to ask you some tough questions, but I just want to thank you for taking the time to joining us here at Virgin Most Powerful Radio.
Thanks, Terry.
My pleasure. Now, Bishop Strickland, you have some tweets, but before we get to the tweets, you're in an article from LifeSite News. The headline is, U.S. bishops endorse abortion-tainted COVID vaccine, an act of love of our neighbor. And this document entitled Moral Considerations Regarding the New COVID-19 Vaccinations was published just yesterday, December 14th. And in this article, you and many other good bishops like Bishop Athanasius Schneider and many others are actually on the other side of the coin on this. In other words, I want to ask you, because so many of our listeners are thinking, what should I do with this COVID-19? Is it moral for me to take this vaccine if it's been tainted from aborted babies, even though it was 20 or 30 years ago? And that's the case. And they're saying in this article that out of charity, we should take this vaccine so that someone else won't get the COVID-19. What's your take on all this?
Well, I addressed the question for my flock here in East Texas, and my statement really comes down to this. I can't, in good conscience, receive a vaccine myself that is tainted in whatever way from abortion. An aborted child is used in whatever way for the production of this vaccine. I can't, in good conscience, personally receive that. I'm not, demanding of others, but I think we need to look at those moral questions. And what I've really encouraged, for a lot of other factors that go into these controversial vaccines and this very controversial disease of COVID-19 that truly does kill people, but how we control it and how we deal with it, you can talk to a different expert that tells you something different every day. I've encouraged people to simply wait, not to rush into vaccines that have been thankfully very quickly produced, but also that's somewhat problematic that they were produced so quickly without the usual testing of a vaccine. So my basic instruction says, I personally can't in good conscience receive a vaccine that has been tainted, as you say, with the connection to an aborted child, a willfully aborted child. And the reality is that other vaccines are in development. They're not being marketed yet. They're not been approved yet, but they are in development that have no association with aborted children. And so I've encouraged my flock, and I encourage everyone, but my responsibility is the flock of East Texas here, the Diocese of Tyler. And I've encouraged all the people here, not just the Catholics, but everyone, to just wait and evaluate all sorts of factors with these vaccines. But to me, it's a deal breaker when the two that are being offered now, as I understand it, have some connection to aborted children. And if that's the case, I'm not going to receive it.
Well said. Bishop Strickland, are you aware that the death rate from COVID-19, I notice I said directly from COVID-19, is 0.03%. And most of these people who die from COVID die with it, not from it. In other words, they have heart disease, they have other ailments that they have to deal with. And so most of the people, 92% of them, die with other health problems. So in other words, the 300,000 people that are recorded that died with COVID, about 10%. Now, this is the CDC, Center of Disease Center saying this: only 10% died directly from COVID. Now, that's 30,000 people. Bishop Strickland, I don't mean to be a medical guy, but I read that more people are dying from the flu and pneumonia, and we don't stop the economy. We don't. Now hear me out. I believe that it is a virus and it can be serious, but in my lifetime we've gone through this, and we deal with it not by using a vaccine that's immorally developed or even shutting down economies where people lose their jobs. Father, I hate to say this. There was a priest from Africa on LifeSite News today, and God rest his soul. He's 37 years old, and he committed suicide after he got diagnosed with COVID-19. You heard about that. And I prayed for him right on the spot on the radio this morning because I felt so bad. Now, some people feel this, and tell me if this is false compassion. They go, well, I'm going to do whatever I am going to not allow myself to be connected with giving the vaccine or giving this COVID-19 to anyone else. So I'm going to wear the mask. I'm going to stay at home. I'm not going to go to church. I'm not going to do anything because I had a charity for my brother and sister out there. I'm just going to, not go to work and just live in this bubble because it's the right thing to do. What's wrong with that thinking?
Well, I think it's not taking in all the factors that need to be addressed, and that's what I encourage people to do.
Yeah.
To look at all of it. And one of the key things that I didn't include it in my statement, but it needs to be addressed is each of us needs to consider this and make our own decision. Mm-hmm. I think people need to very much resist. There's a lot of talk about mandates.
Yes. And
maybe it's just talk because I haven't heard of strict mandates yet, but I think we need to be very aware that mandating something like this, I think that we need to be very careful about that. And a lot of people would say, Strickland's crazy, but I think that's what I would encourage people not to resist any forcing of receiving these vaccines, because like you said, there are many factors there. The death rate is not large. Certainly any death is bad and life is sacred. Yeah. But I think we've got to look at all the different factors, look at the fact that these vaccines have been produced very quickly, shortcutting some of the usual testing and all. So there are many things. So even beyond the moral issue of using unborn children, unborn neighbors, if we're concerned about our neighbor, which we should be, Christ says, treat others as your neighbor. But we've got a lot of unborn neighbors. Amen. That our society isn't concerned about at all. So we need to look at all the sides of the issue and make a well-formed conscience decision.
Bishop Strickland, I understand that airplanes, flying on an airplane at different airports now, the airlines are going to say you must have a vaccination shot before you get on certain airlines. And I would imagine more and more airlines are going to require that. I know at the theaters, they're going to require you to have a vaccine. What would happen, this is hypothetical, but if they keep telling us, maybe we can't go to the grocery store without having this vaccination. Now, they're not telling you have to have it. You just can't do normal things in life. Would it be an overstep to say if they came to your door as the Bishop of Tyler and they said, Bishop Strickland, I want you to implement this. The state is saying nobody comes into church without being vaccinated. What would you say?
No, thank you.
Okay. And then what happens if they pressure you as the Bishop of Texas saying, look at Bishop Strickland, you need to go along with this because if you don't, the church is going to be persecuted. This has happened before in cultures. Are you going to hold the line on that, or what are you going to tell the government if they said you got to close your churches? What would you say?
Well, Terry, churches are being persecuted in the world Amen. As we speak.
That's right.
That's just a reality. Probably most of the time through history, someone in the world, the church has been persecuted. Thankfully, we haven't had to experience that here in the United States, but we've got to, I mean, that's what persecution comes down to. It's trying to be forced to do something that goes contrary to your faith. And so we have to be willing to do what we have to live the truth that Jesus Christ has revealed to us. And if it becomes persecution, then injustice, we need to speak against that and do everything we can to resist any diminishing of the freedom of religion and the freedom of living our faith in every aspect of society, not just closed off in churches, but in everything. And, you know, I think we do have to be careful. What I keep reminding myself as a bishop, I need to act on what I know and what is true. And what as much as I can discern what is true and act on that. There are lots of speculations, there are lots of rumors, there's lots of confusion. And I think we all have to be cautious about these rumors about, oh, they're going to require this, they're going to require that. Hopefully, people will be reasonable, but if not, we need to resist.
This is Jesse Romero, Catholic Lay Evangelist, and I want to thank you for watching this video on Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Make sure you leave a like and a comment on the video. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Find out how to receive exclusive content in the description below, and always remember to take the information you gathered from this video and evangelize everyone you know. Thank you, and full sheen ahead.